When my son got married, I didn't even know. I didn't get a phone call, a message, or a picture. I found out by accident. From someone who thought I already knew, the day I learned, the world around me went completely still. The clock on the wall ticked softly, as if mocking me. I stared at my trembling hands and wondered what kind of mother I had been to deserve that silence. People say heartbreak feels like a sudden stab. For me, it felt like an endless quiet, the kind that fills your chest until you can't breathe. My name is Helen, and I'm 67 years old. I live in a small house at the edge of town, where the wind carries the scent of pine trees and rain. This house once echoed with laughter, my husband's deep chuckle, my son's small feet running down the hall. My son David was my whole world. He was born after years of waiting, a tiny, red-faced miracle I never thought I'd hold. From the moment I saw him, I promised I would never let him feel alone. His father, Mark, passed away when David was 12. It was a car accident on a rainy night, one of those calls you never forget. From that day, I became both mother and father. We leaned on each other to survive. David grew into a quiet, kind man. He was the kind of boy who remembered to buy flowers on Mother's Day and never went to bed angry. When he left for college, I stood by the window every night, looking at the empty street, waiting for his calls. And when he came home for holidays, he would hug me so tightly that all those lonely months melted away. But time changes people. Slowly, his calls became shorter. His visits became rarer. He started saying things like, "Mom, I'm really busy lately," or, "I'll call you later, okay?" I understood, or at least I tried to. He was growing up, building his own life. Every mother knows that one day your child will drift away, just enough to make space for their new world. Still, I never imagined that world would be one where I didn't exist. It started when David told me about a girl named Lily. He met her at work. He said, bright, confident, the kind of woman who fills a room with her laughter. I was happy for him. For months, I heard her name in every story. "Lily likes this. Lily said that." When I finally met her, she was polite, beautiful, and distant. She smiled, but it never reached her eyes. At dinner, she called me Mrs. Collins, even after I said, "Please, call me Helen." I noticed the small things. When I tried to ask questions, she would change the subject. When I talked about Mark, she looked bored. And when I hugged David goodbye that night, she stood near the car, arms crossed, impatient. I told myself not to judge. Maybe she was shy. Maybe I was just old-fashioned. But as months passed, my son's visits stopped altogether. Our Sunday calls turned into brief check-ins. Sometimes he didn't pick up at all. When he did, I could hear Lily's voice in the background, light but controlling. One evening I called him after dinner. It went to voicemail, so I tried again. Finally, he answered, his voice low. "Mom, I'm with Lily right now. Can I call you later?" "Of course," I said softly. "I just wanted to hear your voice." "Yeah." "I'll call you tomorrow." Tomorrow never came. Weeks turned into months. And then, one day, I met my neighbor Ruth at the grocery store. She smiled and said, "I saw pictures from David's wedding. Lily looked beautiful." I felt the world tilt beneath me. "What wedding?" I whispered. She blinked. "Didn't he tell you?" "It was last weekend. Small ceremony at the lake." I forced a smile and said, "Oh, yes, of course. I just haven't seen the photos yet." But as I pushed my cart down the aisle, my knees felt weak. I gripped the handle like it was the only thing keeping me upright. When I reached the parking lot, I sat in my car and stared out the window for what felt like hours. No invitation, no phone call, no explanation, just silence. That night, I sat in the dark, phone in hand. I thought of calling him, demanding an answer. But what would I say? How do you ask your own son why he didn't want you there on the most important day of his life? So I waited. Days passed. Weeks. Nothing. Until one morning, my phone buzzed. It was David, I answered quickly, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hi, sweetheart." "Hi, Mom," he said quietly. There was a pause. Heavy, like he was choosing each word carefully. "I wanted to tell you myself," he finally said. "Lily and I got married last month." My hand trembled. "I know," I said softly. "Ruth told me." He went silent. I could hear the faint hum of traffic behind him. "I'm sorry," he said after a long pause. "It all happened fast. Lily wanted it small. We didn't want to make it complicated." "Complicated?" I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. "I would have come quietly, David. I didn't need a seat. I just wanted to be there. I know, he said, but Lily thought it might make her uncomfortable. The words echoed like an empty hallway. I forced a smile he couldn't see. It's all right, I said gently. I just hope you're happy, he sighed. I am, Mom. I'll visit soon, okay? But he never did. Months passed again. Each day felt quieter than the last. Sometimes I would set the table for 2 out of habit. Sometimes I'd find myself talking to the empty chair across from me. I sent him birthday gifts that were never opened. I left voicemails that were never returned. Yet every night, before bed, I whispered a small prayer that wherever he was, he felt loved. One evening, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, David stood there, tired, thin, eyes full of guilt. Mom, he said softly, can I come in? I didn't speak. I just stepped aside. We sat at the table, the same one where he once did his homework as a boy. He looked around and his eyes softened. I've missed this house, he said. Why now? I asked quietly. He looked down. Lily left, he whispered. She didn't want a mother-in-law. She wanted control. And I let her. Tears welled in his eyes. I'm sorry, Mom. I thought keeping the peace was love. But I was just afraid. I reached across the table and took his hand. Love isn't about fear, David, I said softly. It's about standing together, even when it's hard. He nodded, tears slipping down his cheeks. I hurt you, he whispered. Yes, I said gently. But you came back. That's what matters. That night, after he left, I sat by the window, watching the rain slide down the glass. The pain was still there, but softer now. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It simply makes room for tomorrow. Sometimes I still think about that wedding, the photos I never saw, the moment I never shared. But I also remember the small boy who once held my hand crossing the street, the boy who came home, even if it took him years. And that is enough, because love, no matter how quiet or delayed, always finds its way home.